Hi there, Erin Lee here of heavenlymessenger.com, bringing you this week's Tune In and Tune Up Thursday. First of all, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure for me to be able to connect with you in this way, and I'm grateful for the time that you're taking out of your day to be here, so thank you. Another thing, I do readings and questions for people who are live on the stream. I know that the wording in my post this week was a little bit different than it usually is, and I had a couple of people asking beforehand if I could do readings for them, and my focus here is just doing readings for people who are able to join me live. I want to keep it as fair as possible for the people who are here. So thank you to everybody who has asked for readings on the show, saying that they wouldn't be able to make it this week. I hope that you'll be able to make it with us another time, another week. If you are asking a question this week, please be specific with your question. So for example, rather than asking if there's a message for you or just saying love life, a specific question would be something like, what's happening with my relationship? Or what do I need to know about my relationship? Or, what's happening with my career? There's a lot of funny stuff that's going on. Or I'm really dissatisfied with my job. What do you see coming up for me? I only have a couple of minutes with each person, and I want to be able to give you as much as I possibly can in the time that we have. The other thing, I've only got 2 card decks with me this evening. I taught 3 classes this past weekend using the card decks, and I haven't unpacked everything. So these are the 2 decks that we have. We have the blue deck, which is the mermaids and dolphins, and we have the yellow deck, which is the Archangel Oracle card deck. So you can say angels or dolphins, you can give me a color, but please mention it with the question that you're asking, because if you ask it in a subsequent question or a subsequent comment, rather, I won't see it. The other thing is we're broadcasting live to 3 different locations right now. So people might be joining me from my Facebook work page, from my personal Facebook page, or from my YouTube channel. So sometimes it may look like I'm skipping over people, and that could be because I'm getting questions coming from a different area than the stream that you're watching. Or it could be that sometimes the comments don't come up, so I'm just going with what I can see and doing the best that I can with that. So thank you for your patience. If it looks like I've skipped over you, please comment and ask again, and my hope is that we'll get to as many people as possible this evening. So I always like to do a little bit of an introduction as we have people joining on the stream. And this week, it feels like there's been so much that we could possibly talk about. But what I'm going to focus on more is the experience that I've been having this week. This week has completely knocked me off my feet energetically. The energy right now is so incredibly intense. We've had huge things happening on an energetic level, and for anybody who is in the least bit sensitive, you may be like, yep, that's been me this week. And so that can manifest in feeling overly emotional, either like tending towards being a little bit weepy or a little bit fearful or a little bit anxious, into like anger as well. I've been seeing a lot of people who've been getting really angry. So a lot of emotion coming up to the surface. And I think part of it is that all of us are feeling a lot on so many different levels, whether it's something you're consciously aware of or not. And that is, for anybody who's sensitive, you're picking up not only on your own stuff that you're dealing with, but you're picking up on what everybody else is dealing with too. I've relayed this story a couple of times this week. I had a conversation years ago with a friend of mine who is highly empathic, and she picks up on the energy of the people around her. And she was at the time in a relationship with a person who wasn't in touch with his feelings really at all. And so she was sitting there and saying, whoa, what's going on? You feel really angry. And his response was to completely shut her down. I'm not angry. What are you talking about? And she was really frustrated because she came to me and was telling me about it, because she said, I think my boyfriend's lying to me about not being not being upset that there's something going on, like what's happening. And when I tuned into the situation, it wasn't so much that he was lying to her, it was that he was unaware himself, that was what he was experiencing. She was picking up on it because she is sensitive to the feelings of other people. And there was so much that he was broadcasting, putting out, that she couldn't help but stumble over it. But there was a disconnect that was happening on his part in not being able to recognize what he was feeling. So sometimes as empathic people or clairsentient people, where we pick up on the feelings and the emotions that other people are experiencing, sometimes we're not going to get the confirmation of what the other person is feeling, and doesn't have to do necessarily with what we're picking up, but can have to do with them either not being in a place to recognize it. Maybe things are so wound up in their world that they're doing what they can to survive, and they're not able to delve deeply into what they're feeling. From a bigger perspective, it could have to do with them not being aware, so being completely emotionally cut off and not being aware of what's going on for them, and therefore not being able to give you confirmation. So there are lots of different reasons that can be happening, and I bring it up because everybody is feeling at a really big level right now. And for those of us who pick up on that, you may be bombarded because you have not only your stuff, but the stuff that everybody else is holding right now too. So just be aware of that. The other thing that I've really been experiencing is sleeplessness. How many other people have been experiencing difficulty either sleeping or staying asleep or feeling rested? This has definitely been significant for me with the new moon that we had, which was in conjunction with a whole pile of other things that were going on. So it's definitely, there's a lot happening. So if you are in the same boat as me, be as gentle with yourself as you can. Instead of overloading your schedule, try to find ways to take things off of your plate, or to possibly put them to, next week or the following week, when I do expect that we will have more energy that we're able to work with. Certainly from a lunar cycle, that usually tends to be the case, that we have more energy coming into the full moon rather than coming out of the new moon. But as much as possible, be gentle, which is also why I'm going to try and take a bit of a slower pace this evening with readings, because I just don't have what I usually have to share, but it felt really important to connect with you guys tonight. So again, thank you for joining me, and thank you for your patience. All right, we're just going to go through and say hello to everybody who's on this evening. Victoria, it's so good to see you. It's been a while. Tanya, Karine, Leslie, Nicole, hello. Thank you all so much for joining us. Catherine, Ashaya, who else do we have here? Lily, Cheryl, it's so good to see you guys. Thank you for joining me. Catherine, I see that you're saying yes, and Catherine's saying she's hardly sleeping too. It is really difficult right now. I'm going to pop back and check in with that. And Penny's saying that too. She's also having a hard time, Cheryl as well. And Karine, everybody's saying yes to sleeplessness. So we've got a whole pile of us who aren't sleeping here. So hey, you know what? Why don't we set some intentions right now? I don't think we've really done this on the live show before, but I'm feeling called to do this. So let's set some intentions right now for everybody's sleep that they're going to enjoy this evening. So whether you are watching the stream live or you're joining me later, please let's set some intentions together. Which is popping in one other thing for me. Not last week when I did the show with Bobbi, there wasn't a need for it, but the week before, or the previous show that I did, I turned off the commenting after the show, and that really seemed to stop the trolls in their tracks with what we had been experiencing. So if you're watching this after the show, or you're commenting or trying to comment after the show, the reason that you can't is because I've turned the comments off. All right, let's take a look. We're going to set some intentions. So if you want to ground yourself, settle yourself wherever you are, close your eyes if you'd like. I always like to close my eyes. We'll just focus on taking a full breath in and out. And another full breath in and out. And because the third time's the charm, we'll take one more full breath in and out. And I like to call in my angels because I love working with angels. But you can call in whoever you like to work with, ascended masters, guides, God source, universe, your dog. If you want to work with your dog, that's totally fine too. So whoever you resonate with, call them in. So I'll say, angels, please help me to get a really restful sleep tonight. Please help all of the people who are watching this evening, who are setting intentions with me. Please help them to get really restful, easy sleeps this evening. It is important for us in our physical bodies to rest and rejuvenate. And I don't want to make any promises for you guys, but part of what I'm hearing as we're going through this is that in order to really kind of balance this, that there are downloads that are happening for us in our sleeplessness. So I'm going to say for myself, and if this resonates for you, say this for yourself as well, that I am going to take time this evening before I go to bed to fully prepare myself for sleep. And also, I'm going to take time to meditate as well. And if you already meditate and you're like, I'm still not sleeping, set the intention when you meditate to gather any of the information that's coming in through downloads when you're not sleeping. So I ask that anybody who's setting intention, who is also going to meditate this evening before bed, that we receive whatever it is that we need to download so that we are able to sleep well this evening. And I am going to thank angels, and I invite you to thank whoever you've called in as well for their help and support now and through all directions of space and time, helping us live healthy lives together. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look. Let's start looking for some questions. So I see that we've got a couple of people who've been asking questions that I know that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks. If I've done a reading for you in the last couple of weeks on the show, I'm going to pass over you this time, but ask you to join me next time, just so everybody has a chance to get a reading. If you do want a personal reading with me, I'd love to connect with you. Bookingwitherin.com is where you can schedule. So let's take a look. So we've got Corrine here. Hi, Corrine. Thanks for joining us. Let's take a look. So Corrine is asking for a question around romance and love life. Corrine, I do want to connect with you and answer. If you want to give me a bit more information on more specific question, I'll check for you in a minute. And same with Leslie. I feel like we need a bit more of a specific question from both of you guys. So I'll do a reading, then I'll pop down and see what we've got coming up. And Nicole, first date with AJ. Awesome. Okay, so hold on. Let's take a quick boo. We talked to Nicole last week, but I feel like we need to tap into this really quickly. So 2 quick seconds. I'm seeing excitement. I'm seeing a lot of interest that's building. AJ is showing me that he's interested. And I remember last week that there was something that was going on. There was something that wasn't quite sitting right. And it felt like it did have to do with the work situation, that needed to be sorted out first. But it does feel like it went really well. So awesome. Congratulations. All right, so we've got Catherine here. Hi, Catherine. Thanks for joining me. Catherine's asking, when will I meet the man who will love me? Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got coming up. So I'm going to rephrase that and take a look at I'm wanting to take a look at more partnership relationship. And this is feeling more like a long-term relationship. And part of the reason that I'm specifying the question that way is because it can be really easy to find somebody who will love you, but I'm wanting to see something that is really reciprocal, that's really healthy. So that's why I'm kind of changing the specification of your question. Let me see, what do we have coming up for Catherine? So I've got kind of a 3-2-1. So there's something that you're needing to deal with and to address. And this feels like I'm getting kind of like this, like being done with it, like washing your hands of it and just being done with it. So there's something that you need to decide that you are done with, and you're not going to engage with that energy anymore. And it's really interesting because this feels like this is more of a pattern as opposed to a person in particular. And what I'm seeing is that part of this has to do with the pattern that you have when going into relationships with men. And it feels like there is something that you compromise very quickly, very early on. And that kind of sets up the foundation for the relationship moving forward. And what I'm seeing is that if you aren't accepting this thing, then it's weeding people out really quickly. So kind of what I'm hearing is that the net that you're casting is too wide because you're catching some good ones, but you're also catching a whole pile of ones that just aren't right. And the thing is, there's something really attractive about the ones that you are catching that are just not right compared to the ones that you want. So like there's something that's like shiny. Sticking with the fish analogy, I'm seeing scales that are really shiny and possibly iridescent. So that's kind of making me wonder if there is a physical attraction component that's really present in the men that you have been choosing, that is not working, is just not working for you. So that's what I'm seeing needing to be done with. Now, as I say that, I'm hearing, but let her know that she's still going to be attracted to them, but just perhaps not quite in the same shiny kind of way. So possibly there's less polish. I can't tell exactly what it is, but it does feel like it's appearance related. And this is one of the things that's allowing them to get in. So given the rest of the messages, I would say, don't let looks allow behaviors to slide, because it feels like, I don't know if that's quite been expressed properly, but there is something about appearance and there's something about letting things go. So if you find yourself in a bit of a quandary when it comes to a new relationship and a new partnership as to whether or not the behavior is appropriate, ask yourself if this person wasn't super attractive to you or something else that is really attractive. Money just flashed into my head. Would you accept this behavior from them? I'm kind of reminded of the 50 Shades of Grey series. I don't know if I can actually say that I've read those on my show, but I am. And one of the things that a lot of people took issue with it was that there was a lot of really abusive behavior. And people said, if this guy hadn't been like a multi-millionaire, then it wouldn't have been okay what he did. And that's kind of what I'm seeing coming up for you. So take a look at what your kryptonite has been in relationships and say, I'm not going to let that be my kryptonite anymore. So then in terms of when will you meet the man who will love you, I'm fast forwarding. So there's that 3, 2, 1. So there's a bit of healing work that you're doing. We're fast forwarding. I've got something coming up in about 4 months. So we're basically the middle of August. So September, October, November, that's kind of taking us into the middle of December. So I'd say, end of December into January, possibly into February is where I'm seeing somebody coming in. And it feels like you may initially resist letting this person in. So I suspect that this is not, somebody who is your usual. Hold on, we just had a jumper. I've got my foot on my stand. I'm hoping it won't fall as I grab it. Well, of course, it's way over there too. Okay, so you guys can't see it because it's on my lawn over here, but the card that came up for you, Catherine, is the Divine Order card. And when the Divine Order card comes up, it's got this angel with the balancing. It says that everything is happening exactly as it needs to. So sometimes when we aren't finding our partner in the timeline, the time frame that we're hoping to, we're like, is there something wrong? Is there something happening? Am I missing something? Am I not doing something? And what this card is saying is you are doing absolutely everything that you need to. There isn't anything that you're missing. Things are happening as they are. We have talked about a couple of the things that you're doing, that you're focusing on. But in addition to that, I wouldn't be surprised if this person is sorting things out on his end too. So this is really valuable time for both of you. Catherine, I'm so grateful that you joined me this evening. Thank you so much. Sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. All right, so we've got Leslie here. Hi, Leslie. Thanks for joining us. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to put those 2 questions together. Leslie kind of asked 2 questions, and I asked her to ask again. So we've got what's going to happen in love life, and what do I need to know? So I'm going to say, what do I need to know about my love life? Is Leslie's question. And And when I ask, I have kind of a bit of hardness that is coming up. And so I want to ask if there are ways in which perhaps you're feeling a little bit jaded when it comes to love life. And this feels like this may have even manifested in your body. Like I'm really being drawn into my left side, but in my abdomen. And it almost feels like gas. Oh gosh, guys, we're getting some really awesome examples tonight. So here's the TMI part again, right? Not only are we talking about 50 Shades of Grey, but now we're talking about gas. So, you know, if you've got some gas and your tummy's feeling really bloated and it starts to feel a little bit hard in your tummy, that's what this is feeling like. And so gas can also be a buildup of the stuff that needs to leave, and it feels like that's probably part of where this jadedness is coming from, is the stuff that you've experienced in previous relationships, the crap that needs to be moved out and needs to be dealt with on an emotional level. And sometimes what happens is, if we've experienced something possibly in several different ways or over different time frames, we can become jaded about it, and we can start to think that all situations are this way, or that eventually things are going to turn out this way. And it feels like that's part of the unprocessing, the unraveling that you're doing. And that's kind of what you're needing to know, is that right now, the person that you would be drawing in is not quite the person that you're wanting overall, and still dealing with this bloated gassiness. So give your tummy a really good rub, drink lots of water, have lots of fiber, and get things moving. So in like an emotional way, to me that says it's important to take a look at how you're talking about relationships, how you're talking about potential romantic partners coming in, and possibly even, you know, what can happen, like how that happens. And I know that I've been guilty of this myself, feeling that I possibly live in an area where I'm not going to meet the type of person that I'm looking for. So take a look at all of the blocks and the boundaries and the barriers that you have possibly standing in your way, and say, I'm going to really work on this because there's a reason that I'm feeling this way, and I need to get down to the nitty gritty and the bottom of it. Okay, Leslie, let's take a look and see what message we have. Oops, coming up for you. This one almost landed on the grass too. So this is the Mermaids and Dolphins. Ha! We've got the soulmate relationship card. Well, if that's not perfect, I don't know what is. New romance with a spiritual basis is here for you now. So that's really interesting, because the indication that's coming up with this card is saying that possibly there's somebody that you're connecting with right now. So do take a look. We were just talking with Catherine and talking about, you know, being aware of the things that possibly are deal breakers for you, and ask, are those still things that are deal breakers? I don't think I spelled it out quite that way with Catherine, but that's what's coming up for you, Leslie. The other aspect for this card can have to do with connection that we have with higher self. So really important to make sure that you're getting in touch with your intuition and what makes the most sense for you too. But that says to me that love and romance and partnership is not that far away, or that an existing relationship that you have, that you're in, has some healing process that's happening that you're going through, but that it is worth investing that time and that energy. Leslie, I'm so grateful that you joined me this evening. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Awesome. Now, I know that, where is it? No, I'm not seeing an additional question from Kareen. So Kareen, I'll take a look for you in a couple of other readings and see if you've asked a full question. All right, we've got Ashaya. Hi, Ashaya. Thanks so much for joining me this evening. Ashaya is asking, can you tell me what's going on with my love life? And thank you. Okay, let's take a look. We've got lots of clearing that's coming up, because I'm feeling sweeping the board, but I'm also seeing that there are things that are staying. So you're not fully and completely getting rid of everything that's there. And it feels to me like there's something that you're already kind of working with. And the imagery that I'm getting is of a lump of clay that you've already kind of started to shape something with, but you're showing me that you're like, smashing it in and starting it all over. So there's some aspect that doesn't feel like it's really working for you. But I'm not seeing you getting a new piece of clay. I'm not seeing you like splitting this clay into two or adding to the clay. So that's kind of making me wonder if there is somebody that you're currently in a relationship with. You're like, we just need to work things out. But I am going back to this sense of needing to go back to the drawing board. So if you are currently in a relationship with somebody, there is something that you guys need to address. And it feels like it's something that you keep coming back to over and over and over again. And either it's something that you're needing to come to compromise on, or one or both of you are just going to have to say, like, this is who this person is, and except for this thing, I really love them very much, and I'm going to accept that this thing that drives me nuts, that drives me crazy, is not my favorite thing about them, but it is part of them, and I do love the whole. That's feeling a little bit simplistic, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. Now, I am hearing the need to talk about if you aren't currently in a relationship and you're looking for a relationship and a partner. And what I'm seeing is that there might be somebody that you're overlooking, that you're already connected with, who has interest in you as well. So kind of take a look at your friend group. Is there somebody who's kind of been sticking out and they're like, hey, let's go out and do something. Let's go kayaking or paddleboarding or go for a walk or go for a tea or for a movie or grab a book together, like go bookstore shopping. Because it feels like there is somebody who is really close, and if you're not in a relationship, they're like you're about ready to stumble on them. But if you are in a relationship, there's something that really needs to be addressed. But it doesn't feel like it's giving up time yet. So, Ashaya, let's take a look and see what we have going on, coming up for you. So we're with the Archangel Oracle card deck. And the card that we have here is the Clear Your Space card. This is Archangel Jophiel. Her message is get rid of clutter, clear the energy around you, and use Feng Shui. But what I'm really kind of drawn to with this picture is we've got this angel, and it feels to me, whoops, there we go. It feels to me like she's in a place of surrender. Like her arms are open, and it's like we're getting rid of a lot. I'm getting rid of possibly my need to control things or to fully understand things, and I'm kind of coming to a place where I'm definitely leading with my heart. Like her heart is definitely at the forefront, and that's feeling like that's really important. She's letting go. She is looking up, so she's feeling really hopeful, really supported, and there's lots of energy coming up behind her as well. So energy coming up behind her really feels like it's support that's coming from the other side, from God's source universe. So know that you're not in this alone, that there is a lot of help and support, but there is a bit of clearing that you need to do in order for this situation to be what you're wanting it to be. Ashaya, I'm so glad that you joined me this evening. Thank you so much. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Oh, there we go. We've got Kareen here. Hi, Kareen. Okay, so my job is getting strange. Any message moving forward? Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got going on with Kareen's job. Yeah, there's kind of some weird energy that's going on. And this doesn't feel like this is it's not actually directly related to your job, but it's kind of in the environment, and it feels like it has to do with the structure kind of above and possibly around you. So I wouldn't be surprised if coworkers have been kind of feeling something has been a little off for a while. And it's just for some reason kind of catching up with you now. And it's interesting because it doesn't feel like it's directly related to the work that you're doing. It really has to do with the bigger overall structure, that there's some sort of uncertainty or weird energy. Like it's almost like someone is trying to manipulate and control things in a certain way that's outside of the mandate, is the word I want to use, the mandate of like your work environment. And it's just kind of like, why? This doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, there is definitely something a little bit funny about the energy. I'm not seeing a huge shift happening with it anytime soon. So it doesn't feel like this is going to be improving, like getting less funny. It feels like you're heading into a really humorous time, unfortunately. So what are we going to do about that? So in the interim, what I'm seeing is you're just kind of keeping your head down, recognizing that there is something funky that's going on. I am seeing you kind of giving it a little bit of time and space. So kind of maintaining that there is something weird going on. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm also not quite ready to make a change yet. As we start to move about 3 months out, that's where I'm seeing you coming to a point where it's like, things really aren't shifting and changing. I feel like I need to start looking for other options. And I am seeing something that feels like it is kind of a side move. So like a lateral move, I guess, would be the terminology that you would use. So it feels like you are still in the same industry and possibly within the same organization, but instead of being here, you're lifting up, over, and plopping down into something else that is outside of this really kind of weird energy that's going on. And so because of that, I would say that this is something that's going on with somebody higher up in the hierarchy and the structure. But there is a shift that's happening, that you look for and take advantage of. So we're just going to go to the Mermaids and Dolphins cards. I'm just going to ask, what messages do we have for Corrine about moving forward with her job? We've got a couple of jumpers here. So we've got the second one that popped out is the Ready, Set, Go card. And this card here really indicates that it's time to take action. Now is the perfect moment to dive in and embrace your heart's desire. So if you've been thinking about a bigger career change or move, this is definitely a time to start researching that and to look into that. One of the things that we have is we've got a lot of joy with this mermaid delving in with the dolphin. There's definitely a lot to explore. She's feeling really happy. So there's definitely support there. The next card that we have, the first jumper, is the Let Yourself Receive. Allow others to give you love and care. Receive without guilt or apologies. So often for caregivers, it can be really difficult for us to receive help because it's a lot easier to give. And so this card is saying that it's really important for you to receive. So I'm going to say that's part of your homework for the next little while, is how can you allow the people around you to help and support you, so that life is a little bit easier. And some of the basic ways, if somebody offers to hold the door for you, you're like, no, I'm good, I've got it. Like, especially if you're carrying a lot of stuff, allow yourself to receive that help and support. And it might be something that's really simple, but look for the ways that people in humanity are kind, that they are helpful and supportive, and that feels like that opens things up. Corrine, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for popping on. Sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for joining me. Tanya's asking, what's happening with our career? Are we going to keep going strong? And she's asking for the dolphins. I'm glad that you mentioned dolphins because I was going to pull the other ones. Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got going on for Tanya. Yeah, things are continuing along. It feels like you guys have found a really comfortable groove and rhythm. I'm still getting like a bit of a blip blip like this, where maybe you've got like the odd hurdle that you're overcoming, but it feels like you've got things almost down to a science. There's something else that I'm seeing you focusing on as well, and it feels like it's important to be kind of splitting your attention. So it's kind of like I'm getting the image of the plate spinning in the air. The performers, they have the big sticks, they've got some sort of point on them, they put the plate on and they spin, and then they set up another stick and they spin, and they've got like 8 or 9 plates spinning, and they just kind of keep going back and forth. That's what I'm seeing for you. So you've got a really good spin on this one, and now it's time to start setting up the next plate to give it a good spin. So things with what you're doing right now are feeling pretty positive and really stable, and that you're starting to get like energy, possibly additional resources that you're able to put into something else that's feeling really supportive. All right, let's just take a look. We're going to ask, what does Tanya need to know about career? Whoops. Interesting. Okay, so hold on. Let me just take a look and see what we've got coming up with this, because this is actually kind of contradicting the message that I had. Well, I guess actually not. Okay, so the card that we have here is the time to move on card. It's time to let go of the old and worn out so that the new can come in. So part of what this is kind of suggesting is a bit of confirmation in terms of what you've got going on with the first career is moving and functioning well, and it is time to be putting more energy into something else to get that up and running. When I first saw this card, my first inclination was that actually you had developed things so much and so well with that first career. It feels like there's some business aspect to it, but there's the possibility to sell something with it that gives you something that's allowing you to put into this new direction. So I'm actually not 100% sure, because that's a really interesting proposition and feels like it could certainly it would give you additional time, and it would give you some resources as well. But I'm not seeing you getting out of whatever it is that you're doing altogether. So I'm wanting to encourage you to keep a foot in that door and not to completely move on from it, because it feels like it's working and functioning really well. But there might be a way to bring somebody else in, or, as I said, like to portion part of it off and sell it or give it to somebody else, because there's something else that feels like it's really important to be developing. So don't move on completely, but see if there are ways that you can create more time and space to be working on other projects. Tanya, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. All right, let me just take a look here. So we've got Lily here. Hi, Lily. Thanks for joining me. Lily's asking about money and finances, and she wants me to use the dolphin cards too. So what do we have coming up around money and finances for Lily? So first of all, it feels like you're actually pretty comfortable in the situation that you're in, which is interesting because it feels like the situation itself is uncomfortable in that it doesn't feel like there is as much money as you would like, and that's actually creating a lot of stress. But there is some part of being in that situation that's feeling comfortable. And part of what I'm seeing is that we've got some underlying beliefs around money and finances that are needing to be addressed. So some of the things that might be coming up would be things like money is evil. Rich people or wealthy people are bad or are greedy. That in some way having more than what you need is wrong or bad. That there is some sort of something that is coming up around money. So I'm wanting to encourage you to take a deeper look at like your belief systems around money. And belief systems are not the things that we think on a logical level, but they're actually the things that have been programmed into our subconscious. So often these are the beliefs that we've grown up hearing from our parents, from our grandparents, from the people around us, from society in general. And it has helped to shape our belief system around what money is. So even though on a logical level, we know that money isn't bad, it's not evil, the way that it's used can be bad or not supportive of people and the overall greater good. But money itself is actually an energy of love, a form of love. And the way that I get to that is that when we lived in barter societies, I made something and you made something, and usually it was something that we were really good at. It was something that we loved and that we enjoyed, and that when we traded with each other, what we traded was something that we enjoyed doing to get something that the other person enjoyed doing, and there was a lot of love in that, and we were able to support ourselves and each other, and there was love in that. Well, the barter system doesn't work because me creating whatever it is that I'm creating doesn't pay your hydro bill if I give you that, and vice versa. And so we created the monetary system. Money is an exchange of love, because when I go to the store and I buy groceries, or I go to the farmer's market and I buy groceries, I'm taking money that I've earned and I'm giving it to people who have worked hard, who have done what they've needed to do. And I want them to thrive and to be well and to survive. So it's a form of love to give, to pay. And what I'm getting in return are things that I use to love myself and my family in the form of food. And the exchange of that love back and forth is money. So if we can shift our mindset away from money being bad, money being evil, and seeing it what it is, energetically, it is a form of love back and forth, then we can start really moving forward. Everybody deserves to be loved. Everybody deserves to love. That, love back and forth is something that most of us would agree that is something that everybody should have and should be available to them. And therefore, everybody should be able to survive and thrive. And so money is an exchange and an energy of love. So if you're able to come into that and do some healing around the belief system that is present around money, it feels like things really start to shift on a monetary and financial level for you. And I'm seeing it feels like this is possibly something that you're already aware of, something that you're already addressing. And it feels like things could possibly already starting to be shifting over the next little while. So do keep up the good work. And anywhere where there is a pressure point is where you need to dig in deeper. So anywhere where you find pain or resistance is where you need to push in and dig in even deeper. And the card that we have here is the empowerment card. The message is you are more powerful than you realize, and it is safe for you to be powerful. And, I can certainly see this being a place where a lot of people can really stand back and stand down and say, it's actually not safe because if I have a lot of money, people will steal from me, or people will be jealous of me, or all of the other things, the fears that we unconsciously have around having money and around having enough. So what this card is encouraging is that it is safe for you to be empowered. It is safe for you to be in the light. And actually what you can do is that you can come into a place where you are an inspiration for the people around you. So if we take a look at this, I don't know how clearly you can see this card, but in the middle we have a beautiful mer angel who is vibrant and lit up, and she's lit up from her heart, which is the place of love and giving. And she is surrounded by kind of darker area and mermaids that are celebrating her. So it almost feels like she's gotten her wings. So like there's a sense of empowerment that she's flying, she's moving forward. And instead of being, put off by this, the mermaids around her are actually celebrating what she's going through. So I see that also as being a message as well, is surround yourself with people who support you and encourage you, regardless of where they are. Because when we can lift each other up without any form of jealousy, that's a really positive and powerful place to be. Lily, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure connecting with you this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and abundance angels as well. All right, let me see. Okay, we've got Danielle here. Hi, Danielle. Thanks for joining me. Danielle's asking what's happening in their relationship. So what I'm seeing is two people with hands crossed like this, but holding each other's hands. And it feels to me like there's actually a lot of strength and connection in the bond that the two of you are sharing. But the crossedness, like the cross feels like this, and then hands holding together like this. So both of your hands are kind of like this. I'm kind of questioning like the symbolism of this crossedness, because if I was to hold hands with the person who was right across from me, I would hold hands more like this as opposed to like this. So this almost feels like this is a bit of a protection, like I don't completely trust you, or I'm wanting to keep myself safe. I'm wanting to keep some distance, and to move the relationship forward. I'm actually wanting to cycle energy back and forth easily between the two of you. So it feels like we've got some trust stuff that's coming up that's needing to be addressed, or somebody is like closing off or shutting down, pulling back or withdrawing. And this is kind of feeling like possibly something that this person or both of you, I can't tell if it's one or both, that you guys are needing. So I'm kind of wanting to encourage the two of you, when you do have time together, to really make sure that you are making quality time for each other, so that you are really connecting at a deep level. It feels like some vulnerability can be really helpful and important. But I'm also seeing on the flip side of that, that it's equally important for the two of you to be taking time for yourselves and to say, you know what, there is a lot that I get from my relationship. There's a lot that I give to my relationship, but I'm really feeling the need to make sure that I'm in an okay place. And this is really actually coming up very strongly for your partner. So I'm wanting to encourage them to take time. It feels like this is a really good time to be connecting with friends and loved ones and going out and doing things that you each enjoy separately, because then you have more to bring back into the relationship and the partnership that you have. So I'm not seeing you guys being in a make or break place. I'm seeing that there is a huge connection between the two of you. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of support, and feeling of wanting to keep encouraging that and moving forward with it. So do what you need to do to support yourself, and your partner, ask them to do what they need to do to support themselves too. And it feels like there's opportunity for a lot of growth. Whoops, we've got a jumper here too. So this is the mermaids and dolphins. This is really interesting. So the card that we have coming up for you is the Break Free card. Try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. So from that perspective, this very much is mirroring the message that I feel that came up for you. Initially, when the card came up, break free in terms of relationship often says like, hey, it's time to break out. It's time to move on. But I keep going back to this really strong bond that I'm seeing between the two of you. And that doesn't feel like it's not quite the time for that yet. It's more about the two of you experiencing outside of your relationship the things that you enjoy doing. Maybe it's about picking up a new hobby or making sure that you just have time for yourself to do your own thing so that you can come back and experience your relationship in a new way. The one thing that I'm really drawn to is actually the color pink. So whatever it is that you're doing in your relationship, make sure that it is always surrounded with love. So when you come back into your relationship, say like, how can I best promote and support love in my relationship? Love for myself, love for my partner, love for the things that we do together with what we've created with each other. Danielle, I'm so grateful that you joined me this evening. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Awesome. Oh yeah, and Victoria is saying the meteor shower tonight for anyone who is awake late. Yeah, absolutely. We've got the Parasites. I never know if I pronounced that properly. We've got the Parasites meteor shower happening tonight. So great time to connect with that. All right, we've got JC here. Hi, JC. Thanks for joining us. JC is asking about her son. Let's take a look and see what messages we have coming up. So when I tap into him, he's showing me this feeling of grounding and settling. It feels like he is also finding kind of like a safe place to be, to stay. There is a really deep awareness of what is happening on the physical level for him right now. So I'm very aware of the ground that I'm on, and it feels like he's sitting on the ground. I'm aware of the brittleness or the dryness of the things that are around me, though there is some dampness that I'm seeing as well. So it feels like he's finding places that are damp and cool. But yeah, he's really showing me focusing on the physical and on textures. There's a lot that's coming up around experience for him right now that he is really working on experiencing and registering, and kind of finding support too. It feels like he might be coming into a place of creativity as well. So I'm wondering if there is some form of building that he's doing, but there is definitely a lot of learning he's doing. And he's showing me that somebody or something is walking by his side. So he's showing me he's not alone, which feels like that's a really big shift for him, like this sense of not being alone, but that he is really walking next to someone, or that someone is walking next to him. And as I say that, he's showing me leaning on this energy or this person, and that there's a lot of support that he is gaining from this as well. And he's it feels like he's bringing his feet under him again. So although I was initially seeing him as being in a place of sitting, it almost feels like he was crouching down. So when you go down and you kind of squat, if you're going to make a really big jump and a really big leap, that's almost what it feels like. So there's some sort of preparation that it feels like he's going through and that he's making, but he's really working towards connecting with the physical world on a more regular and consistent basis, and that's feeling really supportive. JC, let's take a look and see what we've got coming up for your son in the cards. So what messages does JC need to know about her son and where he is right now? Whoops, I've got this card here. So the card that we have here is the Archangel Raphael card, and his message is breathe. Take several deep breaths and exhale slowly to awaken your energy and to release old patterns. If I just take a step out for a moment here, we've had so many patterns, old patterns coming up to be released this evening. And I think that says a lot about the energy that we're experiencing. So just as an aside, if you're feeling a lot coming up, this is releasing. There's lots that's coming up, so focus on that. But getting back to you, JC, and the message that's coming up for you, it feels like this is a really big part of the process that your son is in. I so love that Archangel Raphael is coming up around him. Archangel Raphael is the angel who helps and supports us in healing, particularly on a physical level. But I find that he also comes through mental and emotional as well. He is the angel who helps and supports healers. And so both, if that is part of our calling, or if that's the journey that we're currently on, if we're on healing journey, then Archangel Raphael will come up really strongly. And certainly from the messages that I've been getting for around your son and for your son is that there's a lot of healing that's happening for him right now, that he isn't feeling alone, that he is connecting with more of the physical world, but still really experiencing the spiritual world as well. And I'm feeling a lot of love that's coming up around him. And it feels like that's something he's feeling too. So JC, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's always a pleasure connecting with you and with your son. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support to you and to your son as well. Awesome. Oh, and Christine. Hi, Christine. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad that you popped on this evening. I had the pleasure of meeting Christine in person this past weekend. She joined me for one of the courses that I taught. All right. So let me just see here. So we've got Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for joining me. So Cheryl's asking about relationship in the future. So I'm going to assume that we're looking at romantic relationship. What do we have coming up for you, Cheryl? I keep hearing 3, 2, 1. But this feels like this is more like you're preparing to take off. And I'm kind of relating it to the Ready, Set, Go card that we had coming up for somebody a couple of minutes ago. So it feels to me like you're getting ready to take off, that you're getting ready to explore something, to move forward. This is feeling like a really exciting time. So when you ask, do I see you in a relationship in the future? I would say yes, wholeheartedly. Though I'm not 100% sure that these messages are specifically around a relationship that's coming up, because I am feeling a lot of excitement about it. It does feel like it's something that you're building yourself up to, but I don't necessarily see this involving a partner. And so what I'm kind of wondering is if there's some other project that you're putting energy into or focus into. This could be a change with like work and career. This could be a change that's coming up around family situation. It could be around your home. It could have to do with a move. But there's something that you've been putting a lot of energy into that you're really excited about. And this feels like this is like a celebration. Like I'm ready to take off. I'm ready to move forward. And it feels like you're letting go of a lot of restraints as well. And that's the energy that's standing out the most strongly. My words have just become a jumble. But that's the thing that is popping out at me at the most right now for you, is that's what you're needing to put your energy and your focus into. And once you get up and running with that, that's when I'm seeing partner popping in. Maybe not right away, because there's something about possibly being not quite ready. Like I'm wanting to create a little bit of a boundary and a little bit of space. And really, it feels like you might be coming into a time when you're feeling pretty focused on something else, and there isn't really the time or the energy to be investing in somebody else or to be investing in a relationship. And there are some ways in which it kind of feels like it's a little bit of a relief for you, not to have to worry about somebody else, not to take their needs into consideration over your own needs, and whatever it is that you're working on. So that's where I'm seeing the most excitement coming up. And as that's up and running, kind of about 6 to 8 months out, when things are in a really good place. So not necessarily 6 to 8 months from now, and not even necessarily 6 to 8 months from getting this thing started, but 6 to 8 months from the time that it feels like you're really gaining momentum and things are moving, and it's like, yep, this is good, and I'm rolling with it. And I feel like you're not even looking for somebody at that time, because you've got so much on your plate that boom, this person pops in, and you're like, I don't know that I really have time for you right now. But I am seeing this person being pretty persistent, and it feels like they are accommodating what you have going on. And this is feeling kind of new for you, because I feel like partnerships and relationships in the past almost feel like they've kind of railroaded you, or have taken you along on their journeys, and your needs, the things that you've wanted to focus on, have kind of been left off to the side. And so I suspect that that's part of where this is coming from. But because this person in this relationship feels really different, and part of the way that they show you that it's different is in respecting what you have going on, and that they are accommodating that, I suspect that that's a big part of what says to you, yep, this would be okay to explore right now. Let's see, we're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask, what does Cheryl need to know about relationship in the future? So what I'm hearing is, yes, absolutely, there is relationship. We've got 2 cards popping out. 2 cards. So the first card is claircognizance. Whoops. Claircognizance. So this is Archangel Uriel, and his message is pay attention to thoughts and ideas that come to you as they are answered prayers. So claircognizance is clear knowing, thoughts and ideas just popping into your head. That may also be part of what's coming up for you in terms of this other project, this other thing, that this is an idea that's just starting to take shape, and that it's you're getting ready to go with it. The other thing that I really pay attention to with this card is the angel associated with it. So Archangel Uriel is the angel who helps and supports us with healing on an emotional level. So Raphael, who we connected with for JC, also helps with emotion, but he really deals a lot with physical. But Uriel helps us to get into the nitty gritty. What is it that we're feeling? What do we need to process and unload? So it could be that part of the journey that you're going on is one that opens things up on an emotional level and helps to open you up to partnership and relationship. And then of course we've got Archangel Raphael too, with the angel therapy card. His message is, give your cares and worries to us angels and allow us to take your burdens. So from this perspective, Archangel Raphael is saying, hey, you've got help and support in healing and whatever journey you might be on with that, and to follow that. The other thing that's popping up for me is this may also have to do with part of this jump that I'm seeing. So if you have been thinking about transitioning into work or career that helps and supports people, particularly on an emotional level, or helps them to process or deal with emotion, this could be through body work or energy work or creativity and art, or it could be through music. There are a whole pile of different things that this could be through. Anything that is helping and supporting other people and any sort of healing. If that's part of what you've been thinking of, see this as a great big huge green sign for yes. Move forward with it. Cheryl, I'm so grateful that you joined me this evening. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. All right, let me see. Oh, let me see. block here. So it looks to me like we had a bit of a troll come on during our show tonight. So you guys, I don't know how to pronounce this person's name, but they are, oh, here, look at that. I put his name up on the thing by accident there. So if you receive a comment from anybody asking you to inbox them, they have nothing to do with me, and we're gonna block them. So I definitely will be turning the commenting off at the end of this show tonight. Let me see. And Claudia's on. Hi, Claudia. So good to see you too. Thanks for joining me this evening. All right. And hi to Catherine. It's wonderful to see you too. Thanks for joining me. Let me just see here. So I know that a couple of people who have asked questions here we've spoken to recently in the last little week. And Danielle, I'm pretty sure that I did answer a question for you. Let me see, Ashaya as well. Let me see, who else do we have? Let's see. Awesome. Okay, so I think that we've gotten to the end of the comments here. Let me just see if there was anybody that I missed because we'd connected recently. I think if we get to everybody, that would be the first time that that's happened in like ever. Okay, we've talked to Tanya and Catherine and JC, Christine, Okay, we've got Divya here. Divya, I always mispronounce your name. My apologies. So Divya, thank you so much for joining me. Divya saying she's taken up a new job where I will be working with special needs kids. Congratulations. That's huge. That's awesome. But I feel like the people who work at the school have been looking at me and feel I don't do my job well. The people are talking ill of me and I'm very nervous and not feeling good. Okay, let's take a look and see what's going on. So it does feel like there is a bit of cattiness that's going on in the situation that you're in, but it doesn't feel like it's as broad as perhaps what you're perceiving and what you're experiencing. So I do have a couple of, I'm going to call them negative Nellies, because that's really what it feels like. And it feels like these are people who don't find good in anybody. So the first thing that I want to say is this doesn't feel like this is directed specifically at you. It just feels like you're the fresh meat that they're focusing on. And they're showing me that they kind of rule the roost as well. So it feels like they're accustomed to getting their way and nobody really kind of stands in their way. And everybody kind of goes along with them, mostly because they don't want to be the person that they pick on instead. So I suspect that that's a really big part of what you are dealing with and experiencing. So that, again, I want you to know that you aren't the only one that is experiencing this. It feels like the majority of people who are working in that circumstance, that situation, have experienced it to some degree or other. But I'm also feeling that there's a sense of not feeling completely confident yourself in what it is that you're doing. And it reminds me of something I was sharing not that long ago. So when I was a kid, we had a little dog. Her name was Popcorn. She was the cutest little thing ever. I'm not in the least bit biased, of course. She was an 8-pound ball of fluff soaking wet. Like there was nothing to this dog. And she was so scared. The first time that she barked, she scared herself. Like she was just a big powder puff. And my cousin came out to visit. He was still pretty young. He was 2 or 3 years old, and he was terrified of dogs. And she realized that he was afraid of her. And this dog, who, couldn't attack anything, was literally afraid of her own shadow, attacked him because he was afraid. And it feels like that's part of what's happening in the work situation that you're in as well, is that these two people, because it really feels like it's two who are kind of the ringleaders, who are actually the ones who are doing the talking, and nobody else is disagreeing with them because it is more challenge to disagree with them than just to let them talk. That these two are picking up on your insecurity in the work and the job that you're doing. So what I'm hearing is fake it till you make it. Mostly because I am seeing that you're doing a really good job but that you're having a difficult time seeing that yourself. And that's what these people are picking up on and what they're poking at, because really it feels like they're pretty big bullies. So if you go into it and you're not worried and not concerned about what they have to say, because remember, it's important to look at where these comments are coming from, and they don't feel like they're coming from a supportive or a place of actually really much knowledge. And it feels like there is the opportunity to learn from others who are there. So what I would do is cultivate a relationship with the people who are doing the same or similar job that you're doing, and ask them for help and support. Say, hey, you know, I'm really new to this. I really love what I do. I see that you have been doing this for a while, and I feel that I could learn a lot from you and the way that you approach working with the kids that we're working with. Do you have any pointers or any tips for me? So show the people that you work with that you are there to do a good job, that you love the kids that you're working with, and that their needs are what is your priority. And these other two are going to fall off and fall away, because it feels like there isn't going to be any ground for them to stand on. And I'm seeing it not being an issue for you in the long run. It's really unfortunate that this is happening in your workplace, because ideally we wouldn't have any sort of bullying in any sort of workplace, particularly in school, because kids pick up on that kind of stuff. But it does feel like you're doing a really good job. And for the things that you aren't sure about, find somebody that you can develop a relationship and a rapport with, likely somebody who isn't interested in these two people and their cattiness, because that person is the least likely to be affected or drawn into it. So probably somebody who has some pretty good boundaries. And I see this being somebody that you can really learn from and possibly even create a friendship with. Devaya, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Awesome. We've come to the end of our show this evening. I'm so incredibly grateful for all of you for joining me tonight. We should be back next week for Tune In and Tune Up Thursday. I will be posting about it. I'm actually taking a couple of days off and heading away for a little bit, but I'm hoping on Thursday night I will be able to connect with you guys. So I'll be taking everything with me. And if you don't see the Thursday night invitation for next week, do know that I will be back the following week, and we'll do Tune In and Tune Up Thursday. I also connected with Bobbi earlier today, and we are looking for a time to connect, to do something jointly together again. So if you weren't here last week, my friend Bobbi Roundtree joined me, and she was offering mediumship readings on the show. It was a lot of fun because for the last several months I've been saying, nope, we're not doing any mediumship readings. And she said, Erin, why not? Let's do it. So we are going to be doing something. It's in the works. We're planning it. If not next week, then hopefully the following week, but I'll make sure to post it here. And it will be live on my Facebook business page. It'll be live on my YouTube page, and it will also be live on Bobbi's spiritual medium page. So again, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to connect for your own personal reading, please head over to my website, bookingwitherin.com. I have a couple of openings available next week, and then the following week, lots of availability as well. So sending you big hugs, lots of love and support. Hope that you have a wonderful sleep tonight. And as Victoria suggested, if you're not, get out and enjoy the meteor shower. See you soon.